Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name's David Dungay. Today I'm joined by Paul Sparta, CEO of Vbrick. Welcome to the show, Paul. How are you?
Doing well. Good to see you, David. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about video, but more importantly, being present where work happens and why video must be a part of that. So before we get into that conversation, Paul, do you want to give us a quick rundown of Vbrick and yourself?
Yeah, I'm the CEO and chairman of the board at Vbrick Systems. Vbrick is a longtime provider of enterprise video platforms. So we focus on the enterprise, the business, and primarily, the movement, integration, and distribution of video within large enterprises. So got a large global 200 customer list and continue to press ahead there.
Great. Well, let's outline some of those big challenges you're seeing at the moment. What are the big challenges you're seeing when it comes to organizations really utilizing video today?
Yeah, I think there's a good bit of confusion right now. And part of the reason is post-COVID, everybody, rushed to make sure they had conferencing capability, those kinds of capabilities, virtual events capability, those sorts of things. And it's not quite enterprise video. I think people are realizing that the meeting platforms do something, very specific and very differentiated that certainly Vbrick can't do. But then there's, another aspect of video, which is the stored video on demand, understanding what the content is on that video, making it get distributed. And I think there's been some, market confusion about sort of what the need is. And post-COVID now, and we're seeing return to work, the more strategic questions of how are we going to get the value of video in, the business process has become a real question. And I think, the fog is clearing a little bit, but there's still some confusion over, well, what does an events platform do? What does a meeting and conferencing system do? What's a collab system do? What does an external marketing video management platform do? And they're all slightly different things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you touched on it there. Let's talk about that a little bit more, especially around how embedding video in the different parts of that workflow can really benefit businesses.
Yeah, I think that's, it's very easy to say, right? And we wouldn't be the first company to say, wow, you want to get video as part of everything you do in your enterprise. That's a noble and easy thing to say, but what does it really mean? And I think from my perspective and from Vbrick's perspective, the issue is you want the video where you're working. You don't want, a video portal is a great thing. A video library is a great thing. A live broadcast system is a great thing. They're all things you have to have. But your solution for enterprise video can't be go to the video portal and sort it out. That can be useful and you still need video portals. But the real issue and the real benefit comes from what am I doing as a person in the organization? Am I a customer care person? Am I a customer-facing salesperson? Am I an R&D person or a researcher? And at the moment I'm doing something, and I'm using possibly other applications, other work processes, and video would be helpful. You want the video to be right there with the right context, the right things being served up, the right accessibility. So whether it's a salesperson that wants to broadcast to 200 or 300 people worldwide at the press of a button and have that integrated into Calendar or their CRM, or whether it's somebody, working on some piece of machinery looking at an automated maintenance guide and then getting to a point where, oh geez, what would be really helpful right now is to see the experienced technicians' latest updates on what's happening with this piece of equipment, or a customer care person being right there on topic to see other more current issues, many of which were captured via video. So being embedded in the process is like having video where the work is really the key, is a big key to getting value out of, a video-enabled enterprise.
Yeah, so many businesses are looking at efficiencies now and productivity as well. What a great way to ratchet that up a little bit in terms of your output from your workforce. I do want to talk about.
It's critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to talk about Microsoft's eCDN as well. And maybe you could give a little bit of an introduction to what that is and why businesses should consider that service. I'm also really interested in what Vbrick's doing around that to sort of differentiate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bigger companies, I mean, clearly there are a few that we're all familiar with that are dominant in the conferencing, and in the case of Microsoft, much more broadly, with Teams, and Zoom is another one, and WebEx, of course, also being stalwart there. But one of the issues on video distribution, and then Microsoft and both Google both have added the ability to do what's called peer-to-peer distribution within the enterprise, and that's the ability for it's always when you're on the public internet, everybody's used to Netflix, and you have and households are relatively small, so we're used to this idea that there's an arbitrary amount of bandwidth all the time available to us. We can watch any Netflix or Amazon Prime show or Apple whatever, Ted Lasso or what have you, right, at extremely good quality, it just works. It doesn't work that way in the enterprise when you have to go into private networks that are secure. They may be limited. There's other things running, and a peer-to-peer capability is a way to have the first client essentially that sees content be able to distribute it to other clients. And Vbrick has a technology like that also, and it's a good easy way to kind of distribute video. But it also has its limits, and part of its limit is it's a bit of an uncontrolled thing in some circumstances where you just have computers talking to each other, and for security reasons, a lot of industries, particularly financial services, life sciences, healthcare, a lot of government do not want peer-to-peer activity going on sort of willy-nilly in their network. So there needs to be other more advanced and secure and careful ways of distributing video and making video at quality work. And so Vbrick has a suite of that, and including our own P2P capability. But you need these multiple modalities of multicast, caching, peer-to-peer. There are a lot of different ways to make this work within an enterprise, and you can't just do one of them and expect to be successful there.
Yeah, I'm really interested in your thoughts and opinions on video quality at the minute. You mentioned it there. We're all at home. We're used to that sort of Netflix experience, and it being great quality and just working first time every time. But when it comes to video in the enterprise industry, we were talking about that relationship between voice and video, and it always used to be the case. Rewind a few years, that it was all about voice. As long as the voice was okay, we'd put up with the shoddy video. But now you're seeing a definite flip in that opinion. People, they need that crystal clear video, perhaps even more than the voice.
Well, I think the real ubiquity of conferencing systems is making people understand that there's value in seeing somebody's face. It improves the communication, right? That's just if you're, for that purpose, right, of just looking at people, in calls and meetings. And, I can remember 10, 12 years ago where, we can't use video. Why? Because even the smallest image is going to destroy the network, right? And we're going to see broken up, choppy video. Now, with the ubiquity of live streaming and what the consumer experiences, there's just an expectation that if I'm going to have an image, it ought to be pretty clear. And whether that's utterly rational and a practical thought or not, it's a user expectation. And I think we now have to realize that the business networks and the business delivery has to at least approach the experience that we're getting in the consumer industry. So that's something that whether we like it or not, the expectation is people want to be seen in the best possible way, and they want to see as many people as they can, and they want to see as much detail as they can. So this is the reality.
Absolutely. So we're getting towards the end of the session. I've got one last question before we go, though, Paul. I want to hear your top tips for those organisations watching today who are on that journey to optimise their video and put those videos, that video into their workflows. What are your top tips for making that happen, for transitioning to that sort of optimal scenario?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is you do have to have a solid distribution strategy. You've got to make sure that whatever you're going to do, you got to make sure the video is going to get there, and it's going to get there at scale, and it's going to get there in an efficient way. I think that's just sort of a prerequisite. I think the second piece is you need a platform. right? These systems have to be open, meaning we think about this with documents and workflow and processes. You're able to put those together and organize things the way you need them. And video needs to be the same way. You have to have a platform so that you can go get it, pass information, obtain the right information, and so that different types of systems can communicate with an enterprise video system. Otherwise, you've just sort of created another silo that is disconnected from the corporate workflow process. And the last piece really is the security and permissions and data ownership framework. No one really cares who can watch. Everybody can watch everything on Netflix if you only had 1 billion hours in your life to do it. There's no reason why you can't watch everything. But that is absolutely not true, of course, in the corporate world. There are plenty of things. There are just meetings that take place. They get automatically recorded on conference systems that have company confidential information on there. And it's very important that that is secured. Only the right people are seeing that. You understand what content is on there. So there's a whole big mess of security and context that is not just critical, but required for business. It's a basic bar that the consumer world doesn't address. So I think, always be aware of those things, because I think people look at, what may be the most sexy thing right now, but the real question is, can you actually deploy it and use it throughout the enterprise if you're successful? And that's what we're seeing. Once it gets successful, the adoption goes up quite substantially.
Fantastic. So, Paul, I think that's a great place to end today's discussion. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights on the world of
Thanks
video.
for having me, David. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And
thanks again. Always a pleasure. Sorry to interrupt.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you like today's discussion, give us a like and a share on social media. It's much appreciated. That's it from me. See you next time.